today I wanted to begin our semester with talking about the elements of design. The elements are going to really be our subject for this entire semester, and the elements of design are the building blocks of art. Okay, so what that means is many paintings, drawings, sculptures, photographs, architectural thing, all these anything people design basically have a lot of these elements in them. And then how we use the elements becomes the principle of design, and we're dealing with balance and things like that. So, but I wanted to talk first, just kind of give you an overview of the elements of design. And these are the six. Now, I want you to know these, and these six are in most art books. If you Google how many elements of design, you will get anywhere from 6 to 10. And so what I would really like for you to do is memorize these six and know these six. Most of us that have gone to art school and have master's degrees in art, which is all your faculty, we have all been taught with these six. Okay, so line, shape, space and scale go together because if you're defining a space, it involves adjusting scale of things. So they kind of are the same thing. Texture and tone and value. They're kind of about the intensity of values, tones and values. They can kind of be interchanged. And the last one, and maybe the most important, color. I want to put an asterisk by that because, color is the most subjective. It's the most emotional. But if you're like me and you do a lot of black and white photography, we're not dealing with colors so much as just monochromatic one color, So these are the six. All right. So line is really, really simple. It's a mark on a surface that can describe a shape. The thing about a line that's so wonderful is that there are so many different kinds of lines out there. And they can be thin, they could be thick, they could be vertical, they could be horizontal, they could be diagonal, they could be dotted, they could be made out of shapes. There's just so many different ways that you can use a line. And it's one of the most overlooked elements of design when you're in like an art appreciation class, when you talk about art. We just kind of tend to go to the other things because maybe lines are just so simple, but they're so fun to play with. And you can see in the first, with these exercises I'm having you do, just how much you can really do with a line. And our first projects are going to be about line. Texture is basically the surface character of a thing. It can, like what you're looking at right here, this is actually a photograph of earth, of dirt, dried up dirt. And so if you think about the tactileness, like what would this feel like if you were to rub your hand on it, right? And it comes across in this photograph. Now, if this was a sculpture and it was covered with this dry thing, also, that's the texture of it. So the texture, you can photograph texture, you can draw texture, you can actually put texture on a thing that's tangible that people can touch. And the cool thing about texture is that every single thing has it. If you look around your space right now, look at your wall, look at your desk, look at your ceiling, look at your carpet, right? Everything has a different type of surface character. And so texture is everywhere. Our skin has texture, our hair, a doorknob, right? Value and tones, we're dealing with degrees of lightness to darkness, and it's based off of your light source, right? So it just is the value is like we talk about tonal range. The tonal range in this circle is very great because it shows a range of values. That's a sentence using both of those. So they kind of are basically the same thing. And then color is the most powerful, I say, because people have visceral responses to color. There is definite associations that we can make with color, and we can pull on people's heartstrings and emotions by our use of color. We can uplift with color. We can make people sad with color. We can make energy, right? There's so many different ways to manipulate the color, and we'll get to that. This first part of the semester, though, we will be dealing with a lot of black, whether it's graphite, pen, or marker. We're not gonna get into color for a few weeks, so be patient because we will do it. Shape. This is interesting because shape 2-dimensionally and shape 3-dimensionally can be so different, but then there's so many similarities. So shape, we're talking about as things form. A chair's shape, the shape of a pool, but also the shape of a triangle, the shape of a rectangle, the shape of a leaf, right? And then we talk about geometric shapes and organic shapes. Space. And this is a long one. This is one that we could talk about for weeks and weeks and weeks. So we're talking about, with 2-dimensional design, what we're talking about is the distance and areas around, between, or within components. We talk about positive and negative. Positive space being the thing, the negative being the background, the positive being the foreground, the negative being the background. And so in these images that I'm showing, you can see the foreground is the apple, but in the background you see the profile of Steve Jobs. This came out the same day he passed away, this image. In this one, the positive and negative foreground and background go flippity-flop, flippity-flop, because you can see a dog, and then in this negative space is a cat. But in the cat's mouth, you guys see that there's a mouse right there. So it goes back and forth and back and forth. These are really fun. The other things we can talk about in space, dealing with space, are we revealing a shallow space or deep space that's showing a lot of perspective? And we're messing with the illusion of space, or is it actual space? So to reiterate the 6 elements of design that we'll be going over this semester: line, shape, space, which includes scale, texture, tone, value, and color. Okay, so this week, get your supplies, start your sketchbook assignments, upload the emotional lines to the chat introduction in discussion board, and then next week we will start with line projects. I know for some of you, you may have gotten your supplies and you can jump ahead, but those of you that need to get everything together, try to get it all together by next Wednesday. Okay? All right.